Hi, everyone. It is February 2nd, and I'm Michael Preuss, Senior Manager of Digital Experience on the inbound marketing team. We are doing our group chat today. I'm really excited to have shared the slides and the YouTube link with everyone, and I'm looking forward to taking your questions. I see some people typing, so I'll just wait for that to finish. Danielle, do you want to fire away?
Yeah, softball for you, but I know you were at Lululemon before, and I was curious what it's been like transitioning from an e-commerce company to more of a SaaS enterprise software company.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's been awesome. A lot of the core principles are the same. You know, the way people buy things through their computer is pretty common. Um, but I think the difference is being at a SaaS company. You know, we're tech first. Um, we get to move way faster, and I think there's just a more common understanding that if you break little things, it's okay. We can fix them really quickly. Where when you're working, you know, in enterprise direct to consumer e-commerce setting, you typically go just a little bit more cautiously. And I think it's been really freeing to just get a crazy idea, put a small MVC forward, see if it works, and build on it, and if not, revert. So it's been really fun.
I'm just going to keep asking you questions. So
Fire away.
you mentioned slippers, and I think this is the first time I've worked with a marketing design system. So what is that, and what does it do for productivity in our team?
Yeah, if anyone on my team wants to jump in and add some context, feel free. But so Slippers is the name we gave our marketing design system. So Pajamas is the product design system. Pajamas is amazing. It's actually one of the things that before I joined GitLab, I came across and was like, oh, this company has their stuff figured out. Um, it's a system that allows us to quickly and iteratively release new experiences. Consistency is the key word. We don't need to create you know, unique one-off things, because typically the problem we're trying to solve should be able to be solved by a common set of components. And that makes maintaining, scaling, and, you know, even adding, like if we do a new brand refresh, we just have to refresh this system. So Slippers varies, it forks from Pajamas, but marketing needs and product needs are a little bit different. Product needs, you know, we're really focused on utility, usability, letting people use GitLab to get the job they're doing done. On the marketing side, we're trying to communicate the value of GitLab, draw people in, engage them, and convert them into a customer. So we needed something, just maybe a few more fancy components, and that's kind of where the name came from, is how can we make pajamas more fancy? Well, you put on a nice pair of slippers.
I'm just going to keep going here. Everybody
Love
else,
it.
you're
Thank you.
welcome to add questions. Just in case anyone has never done one of these before, in the calendar invite, there's a agenda doc. It's just an ongoing group conversation doc that we fill in. So you can add questions here, and you can respond to the presentation that Michael linked to, or really ask anything that you want. So just encourage you all to do that. So Michael, congrats on getting a CMS up and running. I know you came and I told you this has like been the battle for many years to get us to something, not our own software, that would just be more standard for the marketing team. But I'm really curious if you could share how you selected Netlify CMS.
Yeah, that's a funny question, because what I've learned since joining GitLab is, you know, we want to have a democratic process to understand varying people's requirements, vet a lot of the options out there. What I've learned through doing that is Lauren's usually right with just what her first suggestion is. Lauren Barker on our team, so she had a whole Netlify CMS proof of concept built already. I just felt it was a little risky not to ask some questions and maybe look into one or two more. So we ended up doing that, and then Lauren was right as usual. So it was awesome. I was actually out on leave. We'd had our second child, so I came back and there were I think it was four proof of concepts built over 3 weeks, and I was totally blown away. But yeah, it was really, you know, this Tina on our team also has a mantra that we've been using for the CMS, which is, you know, content creators are users too. And I love that point of view, because if the people making the content are happy and able to make high quality content and enjoy their work, that's going to be felt by our customers and our prospective customers, because there's just, you feel that joy through the work. It just makes better work. So treating them as users, talking to them as stakeholders and understanding their needs. Netlify CMS, it won not by a landslide, but it was pretty far ahead of the pack, and it being open source and just so easy to integrate, to the point where it had a connection with our GitLab accounts, which is amazing. Is there anything, Lauren, I see you're on the call, is there anything you wanted to add?
It's a Git based CMS. So I really like that. It still does our normal Git process in the background, and it opens merge requests. And you can go in and edit the merge requests via that workflow if you want, or you can go and edit the post in the CMS if you want to go that route. So it just adds more options for people.
It's pretty amazing. I didn't think this would be possible, but Lauren's built it in a way that it totally works with our pipeline, like makes an MR request. It's amazing.
All right.
Lauren, do you want to answer that 4B? How many pages are actually live right now using the CMS?
Right now, we have every blog page and all of the parent topic pages. So that's probably about 2,000, because the
Holy smokes.
Blog's really big. So it's coming soon. Look at the presentation on that one.
I was well aware of the topics pages. I didn't know we were that far along with the blog pages. So that's amazing. Congrats.
Yeah, same. That's really a great lift. And I think the coolest part is it's, like I said to Danielle yesterday, it's changing, the proverbial changing the engine on the aircraft as the aircraft is flying through the air. And you're doing it piece by piece, page by page. So it's like, we're going to move this part and then this part, and it's all going to be new, and you don't lose anything in it because it's all still Git based. So it's really awesome.
That's an interesting segue to Danielle's question, the number 5, actually.
Yes, speaking of things that are being repaired as they're in flight, I think for people who've contributed to the handbook or the marketing site, they know there's a big repo out there, and there's been some discussion about how we separate those things. Just kind of curious to understand more about the benefit to making that change, and then how, just over the next year, like what can we expect? Like what happens next?
Great question. So the benefit is just reducing the size of our Git repo. There's a lot of stuff we can do right now. The one that's chief in my mind, and I know it's going to be a lot more complicated, but all of our images are housed in our Git repo. Moving those to a CDN and using version control outside of the huge repo that everybody has to pull. One, you're going to be able to set up, be able to work on the marketing site so much faster. Everything from cloning it to doing builds. Lauren and Tyler on our team have done an awesome job of introducing Webpack. So we've got a lot of local automation happening instead of having to push it to the server. So really, we're just focused on speed of being able to do the development work. That's been a huge roadblock historically for us. So separating those is going to be great, because they're really 2 different use cases. The handbook is, we have so many like magic sauces, if I use a weird term, but it's one of the things that makes GitLab amazing. Its use case is so different than our marketing site. In my opinion, our marketing site should be communicating and educating why GitLab, how it's awesome, how it's going to solve your problem. And then the handbook is everything that we know the handbook is, which is education, direction, documentation. So splitting those is going to allow us to really be a lot more intent driven and purpose driven. Right now, I know it's not completed. It's probably at the last 20% where it actually gets really hard with building the mono repo. And I came on to that project. Well, I'm not on the project. I came into GitLab while that was in flight. So my understanding is the plan was to make a mono repo, which then makes it easier to split those out. So that's up in the air. I know we're talking about assigning 1, potentially 2 DRIs to the handbook. And as a bit of a tangent, Lauren and I have had some really interesting talks about the handbook, how Git powers a knowledge base. And Lauren kind of connected the dots for me where like we're hearing all of this buzz for the last few years about, blockchain, how it's awesome. It pseudonymizes people's inputs. And Lauren kind of brought up the point, like, what's the difference between that and Git? The only difference with Git is you can see who the contributor is, but it's the exact same thing of being able to track changes. So it is a really powerful tool, and we have some pretty excited people behind applying that to something like the handbook.
I just wanted to add real quick, some of the reason for separation also is kind of the dependencies and the human issues, right? So, if there's something that breaks on the marketing website, all of a sudden the handbook comes to a complete stop too, right? Because the whole thing is broken as opposed to just the marketing part being broken. And kind of in the reverse as well, like say someone edits a part of the handbook, or, a JavaScript breaks there that, impacts the marketing site as well. And suddenly we can't release a press release that we needed to release. So it's again, kind of using the same technologies in a similar way, but reducing the dependencies on each other to some degree too.
Thanks, Brandon. Todd, I see you there at 5B.
Yeah, I just want to update on this discussion. At the eGroup offsite in January, we had a go forward decision about 2 people, one an engineer for infrastructure and features, and one DRI for handbook content strategy, pruning, just how that content evolves over time. And we talked about it briefly yesterday, but Wendy couldn't be on the call yesterday. So we're talking about it again next week. And it's going to be somewhere between the people team and engineering to figure that out. But I hope to have kind of a definitive answer on that shortly.
Oh, great. That's great. It's been a lot of buzz around the DRI for that. So that'll solve a lot of unknowns. Rebecca, I see you at point 6.
Yes, Michael, I know you just got back from the CEO Shadow program, so I was curious if there was anything that you took away from that experience that you're applying to digital experience.
No, I knew it all. No, I have a video of 10 things I took away. I shared on Slack. I'll send that to you. Specifically, the pace of decision making is one of the things that really, really stuck with me. Being like getting to see on the eGroup side, the autonomy and trust that comes from making decisions from the people who are the people who have the experience to make the decision was just a little freeing, and it's very unique to GitLab. I think you come from other companies where you feel like you can make a decision, but then you got to go and be like, really, can I make that decision? And I just got the sense, I'd say for about 90% of the decisions we're making, if you're confident, especially if you have numbers behind it and people believe in it, just make the decision and go forward and do something and see if it worked. So that was amazing. And then the nuance thing was just async. I was in a couple of meetings between the learning and development crew and Sid, and being able to associate async with inclusion from our diversity, inclusion, and belonging value. I had previously kind of more associated it with results, like, oh, if we just can do this, we'll deliver more. That was such a more human way to view our bias towards async. So I'm a hard convert on that one. Sarah, I see you at number 7.
Yep, I'm up next. So in general, I think it's great to see us working with some UX contractors for improvements to the marketing site. So I was curious if through that work, if we've done any user interviews with actual visitors to our site, and if so, can you share any interesting findings?
We are in the process of getting all our tooling together so that we can do that. We have usertesting.com now for our team. So the first thing we've been working on is navigation. So we've been doing card sort exercises. We're going to be using Optimal Workshop to help us with that as well. So we haven't had a chance to reach out directly, but that is so high on the top of our list. And one of the challenges historically is that balance between doing research and delivering. You can sometimes get into a bit of analysis paralysis. And I think our, on the product side, like our UX research group is so good at this balance. Like they're always doing research that leads to insight and action. So we're going to be even more scrappy because our mindset to the work we're doing falls a little bit more into growth design than UX design. We just need to get a little bit of a level of confidence, put something forward, have confidence in it, collect some signal back to see if it's working, and keep investing in that change, or just say, oh, we tried it, didn't work. What's the next idea we can have? So I love the question. Thanks for asking. And as soon as we can, we will start doing some report backs of this research and findings for two reasons. I think it's useful for everybody. You know, I just came across Farnoosh's post-survey or post-purchase surveys, and I was like, oh my gosh, like there is so much good information in here. So the work you're doing and the insights you're generating, you never know who else can benefit from them. And two, it's good to communicate back that we're not going super deep on research and doing these like 3-year studies that never really lead to anything. It's like, we're just being scrappy. We just want a little bit of, you know, confidence signal. We're just getting what we need. Point 8, Danielle.
So congrats on the pricing page launch. I mean, congrats to everyone who worked on that. Sonia, Jauha, you know, it was a huge cross-functional thing, but congrats to your team, because you said it's the first time you've launched a page that was built top to bottom using the new design system. So I'm curious to hear kind of lessons you learned doing it that way in terms of kicking the tires on the design system. And then since we iterate a lot here, it's like rare sometimes to, you know, build a new page from scratch. So what's it been like, you know, continuing to iterate on this page? What can we look forward to?
Yeah, I think Brendan, you're probably the best person to speak to the first question, since you were under the hood the whole time there.
Yeah, so I think because we had an established design language at this point, and you know, spacing rules and font sizes and all that, building it went quicker than it would have otherwise. Also, having reusable parts means that you don't have to define the same thing over and over again. So yeah, it's been great for that. And then in terms of building the page from scratch, visually, it certainly appears that way, but we did get to reuse elements like the strong single source of truth data files that GitLab is famous for. And you know, we did what we could in the short amount of time. We still have more iterations to go, but yeah, it was great being able to have a cohesive brand identity kind of start to take shape for, you know, our new design system.
Yeah, and to the second question, we have been working with Scott and Sid and Todd as well on language, some different presentation styles. So we're working towards an iteration on Friday where specifically we're working on some groupings of that big table below. But Sid's really pushed us to think beyond that, like, should that table even be there? And this is one of the things I've recognized over the CEO shadow too, and I've really enjoyed with the opportunity to collaborate with Sid, is the ideas that he puts forward are just so past where you think you can go. You know, we never would have, like, we could have come to there, but we probably would have been like, oh no, it's safer to keep the table. But how do we know that? Let's test it. So that's pretty exciting. What we want to do is get to a point where we have an A/B test. So one where we probably won't see the table below, but we will, the points underneath each tier will kind of be expandable. One with the table that is organized a little bit easier. And we're going to do an A/B test to see which one of those is performing the best. And then we will stick with that as our baseline and then continue to optimize that page, because it's such an important page for the conversion journey of our customers. And
thank you. I think I have the next one too. So how will we know if the pricing page changes are quote unquote working? Like, what are the lessons and results so far?
Right, yeah. So we're going to set up some tracking. There's, the way I think about it, there's a couple things we want to keep an eye on. There's that, how is the potential customer or the prospect flowing through this experience to conversion? did that improve? Did they come from another site, another page, hit this page, progress, and either sign up for free or a paid account? And then there's conversion points in between those. So what I'd like us to work towards is having conversion metrics that aren't just very binary, like they signed up or they didn't sign up. I would like to know how many people went from homepage to pricing page, and how many people went from pricing page to opening that modal. How many people went from pricing page to opening that modal to choosing SaaS? Because that's going to start to allow us to identify what parts of that experience aren't successful. Obviously, it's ultimately the key metric is how many people signed up for an account, but we're going to work over this quarter to get much more intelligent in what we're tracking so we can make better decisions on where and when to improve.
Awesome, thank you. In the presentation on slide 12, you mentioned that rolling out the design system helps us reducing bounce rate. Can you, just for those who might not be super familiar, explain why that's important?
Absolutely, yeah. Bounce rate's kind of an old school. I'm surprised it's stuck around this long, to be honest. It's an old school metric. Bounce rate means if you bounced, you came to a page, looked at it for a very short period of time, said, no, this isn't it, closed the browser or left. But I do think if you compare bounce rate with time on page, it starts to surface a little bit of the stickiness of the page and things, to not use a jargony term, like what does sticky mean? Sticky means I came to the page, I can easily consume this content. I'm not overwhelmed with a wall of text or just whatever, something that's distracting. I'm at the right page most likely, or it's really easy to understand where I should go to from here. So you could almost think of it as like a jobs to be done framework, where I have this job I need to be done. You know, our business is not delivering enough change. We're a software company. I want to learn about this continuous integration thing people keep talking about. I Google it, I come to this page and I'm learning, and then I get to some recommended articles and I go to another one of those. Now I haven't bounced. So we're pulling people in and we're educating them, and through that education, they're understanding the value of GitLab and how we can solve that problem or enable that job they're trying to do.
Thank you. And my last one is just, I think it's so awesome we've got Netlify. So for people on this call, you know, I'm wondering, you know, when do we all get to contribute, and what does that look like over the course of this year?
I see Lauren's typing here. She has the keys, so you can go. She's got the big janitor set of keys. She's rattling around.
So right now we're working through contribution process fixes to make it really smooth for our team members to access it, contribute. And we want to work through that process internally on our team before the wider GitLab team uses it. And I've linked to an epic there where we're working through those issues. But MVC, where we released it to the team, 1 week. It's live now, so you can go and look at it if you want. You could even try, but there might be some bugs. There might be some hiccups.
And we are planning to build training and education. You know, that'll be built in the handbook as well as videos. So don't expect that it's just going to be like, go to about.gitlab/admin, which is where it is. Anyone can go right now and log in and mess around. Lauren probably hates it that I'm saying that, but we're dangerous.
Go try it out.
Yeah, go try it out. Just don't touch anything. But yeah, you won't be on your own. You know, we'll have a step-by-step process for everyone to be successful.
And there are safeguards, so you're not going to break the site if you.
Yeah, it's Git. That's the whole point.
Something.
So we are at 1 minute from time. If there's any last burning questions? Doesn't sound like that. This has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate everyone's interest in the work that we're doing. We're really proud of what we did, and we look forward to building on this. And we're going to be more and more successful with everyone's contributions and engagement, because we are making stuff both for our prospects, our customers, and us. So please feel free to reach out in the Slack channels, Inbound marketing is a great place to find us. Marketing, web design team, we're all over the place. So we'd love to hear from you.